Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Eggleston, and I run Course Report, which is a resource for students who are choosing a boot camp. So if you haven't looked at Course Report yet, this is my one shameless plug. I do it in all of our videos. You can use Course Report to find schools that fit your learning style. Check out our blog for interviews with students and instructors and founders at boot camps across the world. Plus, we've got over 40,000 alumni reviews, so you can do your research and find the best boot camp for you. So if you remember from our last video with Roberto from Metis, we will link to that video here. Metis is a data science bootcamp that has completely transitioned to remote learning. They're now a fully online bootcamp, but they also recently added this online flex format, which is essentially part-time. So Rita from Metis is joining us today. Thanks for being here, Rita. She's joining us to explain exactly what this format means for students, how you can choose between online live and online flex, and she'll even share her screen and show us the differences between online flex and the online live classrooms. So Rita, thank you so much for being here. I've got a bunch of questions for you, but I want to start by just asking how you got into tech, and if you took a traditional or an untraditional path into data science.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me. My path to data science was definitely a bit unconventional. So I did my PhD in an interdisciplinary department, focusing on the intersection of psychology and anthropology. And because it was an interdisciplinary department, there was really a focus on method. So towards the end of my PhD, I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I started taking some computational social sciences courses and then was simultaneously teaching MBAs in the business school how to do research-driven consulting projects and working as a design researcher for the university. So I realized through all of these experiences that I was really interested in the practical application of a lot of these data science methods I was seeing. So I actually ended up at Metis as a bootcamp student, and then fast forward, and now I'm teaching at Metis. So throughout the time I was in grad school, I was teaching all kinds of different subjects. So it seemed like a good fit.
That's so cool. I feel like sometimes we think of boot camps as being only for like complete beginners, but they can actually, especially Metis and data science boot camps like Metis, can be great options for folks that went through a PhD program and are like trying to kind of transition into the business world or, you know, some practical application. That's so cool. Well, it's awesome that you're now a resource for students. So Metis was online even before COVID-19, but of course, kind of accelerated medicine to fully remote teaching. So now that y'all are in online bootcamp, what does that look like for students? How does a student choose which Metis bootcamp they want to do?
So we actually launched our live online bootcamp in January 2020, so before COVID, and then launching online was sort of the plan all along, and COVID just kind of accelerated that. So our goal has always been to sort of reach a wide variety of students, make it convenient for people in all kinds of different places to find us and have our courses. And you know, our evaluations, our metrics are really the same, as high as they've ever been. And then in late March 2021, we moved to a more modularized format, so in live online. So each subject, you know, like regression or deep learning or engineering, is a 2-week module. So all of it's really streamlined, and our boot camps are made up of these specific sequences of 2-week courses. So we now also have start dates for each course for each subject every 2 weeks. So it's really easy to jump in and get started.
That's really cool. And then the other big format change is that we've now got live online and online flex, right? Can you kind of just give us the breakdown of those two options for students?
Yeah, so our live online format is totally immersive, and it's great for students who want to work full-time on learning data science. What's great about our online flex format, which is new, is that you can get the same great material, but in a part-time format. So this means that everything you would have to get done in that 2 weeks of live online, for flex, you have 4 weeks, and you can go at your own pace. So you don't have to be online at a specific time, except for maybe meeting with an instructor. You can engage with the content on our platform whenever you're available. So online flex is really for students who want to learn data science, but they don't want to quit their full-time jobs, or they want more time to absorb what they're learning.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So the ideal student for the new online flex would be someone who's maybe working or like has some other obligations. Is there anything else that any other advice that you would give to students who are like trying to choose between the two formats? Is it just about kind of time commitment?
Yeah, so I would really sort of think about you and your learning style and what you know. Some people know that they really want to spend a long time thoroughly learning every detail before they move on to the next thing. And for those people, online flex is really a good idea because you have more time to do that. So I would really think about whether that's good for you, or you want something more immersive where you're just hit over the head with it and you have to run really fast.
Drinking from the fire hose. All right, cool. And so for a student who is interested in Metis, they can choose between live online and online flex, but they can also choose between these new subjects. So the data analytics bootcamp, the machine learning bootcamp, the data engineering bootcamp. How does a student actually make that decision? How do they know which specialization to go into?
Yeah, so we have 4 specified boot camps that are all course sequences of our smaller modules. And so there's data analytics, there's data science and engineering, and there's data science and machine learning. And so these are all sort of separate sequences. And what makes sense for the student is probably related to the student's goals and background. And so you can definitely find a lot of information about those online and which courses are included in the boot camps. Admissions is also a really great resource. They are very happy to talk to you and tell you which thing they think might be best for you, and put you in touch with an instructor even if they're not sure, which they usually are sure, but even in case, we're happy to talk to you about it.
So could you share your screen and maybe you can dive into this remote classroom a little bit more at Metis and kind of talk about the differences?
Yes, I would love to.
Cool. All right, so walk us through the main differences between the live online and online flex classrooms.
Yeah, great. So again, online flex is sort of really built for students so they can take it on a part-time basis. So that means that, again, in our live online format, every course takes 2 weeks and is full-time, but in online flex, each course takes 4 weeks, and all of the course content is on demand, so you can learn on your own schedule. So so long as you're making progress and finishing within those 4 weeks, you're good to go. And so this is, again, really great for people who don't want to quit their jobs or who really just want some more time to learn data science and spend some more time with it. So those are some differences. There are also a lot of similarities between our live online format and our online flex format. So both are project-based and both have the same great curriculum, which has a proven track record. And in boot camps in both formats, you get career support until you're hired. And again, boot camps are specific sequences of courses that set you up for different careers within data science. So we have data analytics, data science and engineering, and data science and machine learning. And both formats have world-class instructors. So the thing that's really different is the format, but all of the content, all the stuff you're going to learn, all of that is really the same. And the best part is that you can take any of our boot camps live online or online flex. So everything we offer live online, we also offer in the online flex format.
Okay, so Rita, how does an online flex student actually like stay on track throughout the boot camp? How do they know where they are in the curriculum and what they have to do that week?
So let's talk a little bit about the self-paced course content first. So when you log on to our platform for online flex, you land on this page with the whole course laid out for you. And this is an example from our exploratory data analysis course. And you'll notice the first thing on here really lets you dive deep into the main goals of the course right away and sets up what your workflow should look like and explains the project you're going to be completing as you go along through the 4 weeks. So right from the beginning, your expectations are set and you're also set up for success. And you can see that everything is laid out here by week. So it's really clear when you need to accomplish what during the course and what all the lessons are. And I'll say that we're still tweaking this before our first round of students starts at the end of July. So we're really trying to optimize the experience. And while we're very close to being finished, a few things you see here might move around. But overall, we really have a nice and clean platform that has all of our great course content in one place. So we can take a deep dive into week 2 and we can see what kinds of content are part of Online Flex. So the first thing we'll look at is a lesson, and lessons are where you really learn and internalize the material. So let's take a look at the Intro to Pandas lecture, and Pandas is a data manipulation package in Python. So if you click on this lesson, you get a nice little intro to the lesson. And then you have here how to succeed in the course and also what to expect as you go through. And then linked here are all of the chapters of this lesson. So you can see the content all laid out here and you know what each piece is about because we give you these bullets that tell you what you'll be able to do after each chapter. So let's say here that I wanted to go to chapter 2. So we're going to scroll back up to chapter 2 right now, and then we will click on that one. All right, so in chapter 2, we have a video lesson, so we can watch that and get all of this info about the subject. And then what's really cool is that right away, I can check that I've learned what's in the video with these little knowledge check questions that are there to really reinforce understanding. So let's see how I do on this one. And thankfully, we got it right. And then a really cool part is that for many lessons, we also have, there we go. We also have a coding work related component to the chapter. So you can see if you can actually put your knowledge into practice with real coding challenges. And the great thing about these coding challenges is that they mimic what a real data science workflow would look like and lead you through it. So they're not just asking you to write out the code, but they're also teaching how to put everything into practice in the real world. And all of this work really helps to move knowledge from short-term memory into more long-term memory. So that's what our lessons look like.
That's so cool. It's such a sophisticated platform. And would the difference between live online and online flex here be that a live online student would be doing that lesson in person, kind of in the classroom with the instructor?
Yeah, we have similar lessons with our live online group. And so there are a lot of notebooks available to really practice what you're doing. So these are the ones we have specifically set up for Online Flex.
Cool.
Yeah. So we also have more exercises for students to do. These are also in our live online course. And here's an example of an exercise. So these are just meant for the student to practice and also help the student know how to do the work needed for the project. So again, we're reinforcing these concepts that you just learned so they really get stuck in your head. And the student does the work described in the exercises, and in this case, submits a Jupyter notebook, and so they can submit it right there.
For an online student who's doing an exercise or a project like that, how are they able to like collaborate with other students that are also going through Online Flex, or are they pretty much working solo on those types of things?
On those, they can absolutely collaborate with other students going through Online Flex.
Cool.
So I'll tell you in a minute about some ways that they can do that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So then we have assessments. These are just another part of the course. They're basically quizzes that test you on different subjects. And here's an example of an assessment where you're asking students a question about a package in Python. And then finally, since Online Flex is project-based, students will be working on their very own data science project throughout the course. And just like in Live Online, our Online Flex students get to pick their own projects and really work on what interests them in the confines of the course material. And so here's a project proposal template. So students need to submit their project proposal early on so they can work on the project throughout the course, incorporating what they're learning in the lessons into their project work. And best of all, right, they're never alone. So they're working on their projects. We're always here to help. And that brings me to our next feature of Online Flex, which is the support that we give them. So there are just a bunch of ways that we offer students support in Online Flex. And so first we have one-on-ones, and students in Online Flex can meet with an instructor for 30 minutes up to twice a week. And this is time to really talk about your project proposal and to debug your code and to ask any conceptual questions. And then we also have office hours every week. And office hours are great because you get to interact with your peers and hear the questions they're asking in addition to your own questions. And sometimes that discussion can really be important and meaningful in the learning process. And Metis Careers is always there for you. So during the boot camp, they make sure to have speakers in the industry come talk about all kinds of topics for advancing your data science career. And oftentimes these are Metis alums, and oftentimes the speakers come from companies that are hiring. And that brings me to our graduate directory. So the support does not end after you leave the boot camp. After graduation, all of our alums are highlighted in our graduate directory on our website. And you can visit the link at the top left for more examples. These are just a few. And so here on the right, we have a student named Selena Plaza, and she did a project on the COVID-19 impact on car accidents in the US, and she has a brief description of what that project is about. So you can read that. You can also click on this View Project button to see a 5-minute video of her walking us through the project. And then you have information about her bio, her resume, and her LinkedIn and GitHub. And these graduate profiles are shared with over 500 hiring partners. And so then, even though we're totally online now, there's still a crazy amount of community at Metis. And so these are just some recent fun Slack posts. You can see all the reactions, people really engaging with each other. So we have a Slack workspace just for our Flex students. And then when they're here, they can ask lecture questions and actually engage with each other and discuss. You can actually call each other on Slack too. And the process of engaging with each other and talking about the material, it really helps elucidate what you might find unclear, but also reinforces what you actually know. And of course, if the students can't answer a question on their own, we're always here and we can jump in to help. And then Careers is always posting tons of useful resources on Slack for our students. And then finally, there are all these sort of fun channels we have, like the What's Cooking channel. So this is where people post what they're cooking. There's a pets channel. People really use these a lot. And of course, in addition to all the fun stuff on Slack, our awesome program managers are always putting together lunches and coffee breaks, discussions of women in data science, all these times to just sort of chat together. And there are so many different ways to connect with your peers, all in online Flex.
And Rita, what has been the biggest lesson that your team has learned over the past few months? Have y'all made any tweaks or changes as Metis has transitioned fully online and into this new Flex format?
Yeah, so I think we're always sort of trying to optimize our online learning. We're constantly making tweaks. Instructors are just totally obsessive about making our course offerings better, as good as possible. So everything's always sort of changing for the better. We definitely use a lot of video conferencing with students for sure, and a lot of different techniques related to that, polls, whiteboarding, stuff like that. I think the other thing is that we're always really implementing design choices in our content and our platforms and making sure that those reinforce learning and how we want the students to learn. And a lot of the structure also mimics what working in data science is really going to be like. So we're sort of constantly adjusting design, and because there has to be so much structure in an online learning environment, there's a lot of ample opportunity to really design towards learning.
Well, it seems like there are definitely advantages to the Flex format. But I guess the one downside in my mind of a part-time program is that you just literally can't get that like deep commitment, focus, drinking the Kool-Aid kind of experience like you do at a full-time boot camp. So I'm curious if you have any advice for someone who's trying to like stay on track and really get the most out of that Flex part-time boot camp. Anything you've discovered?
Yeah, so I would really recommend taking advantage of the resources we offer. So making meetings with instructors really early. When you do that, you sort of commit to the meeting. And then, you've done this little psychological trick you can play on yourself, and it makes sure that you need to have your work done. I also sort of recommend writing down your workflows for yourself in advance, and even starting to put together a final presentation before you've done a lot of the work, even in the planning stages. And of course, it's going to change, but having the presentation outline really lets you see what work you need to do and what's superfluous, and helps you think about communicating your work really early. And that's something that's really easy to put off, but we really want you to be thinking about communicating from the beginning so it doesn't sort of creep up on you.
Right. If you learn everything that you need to learn, but you can't like show an employer that you've learned all of these things, then it seems like you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So that's really good advice. And have you, I mean, are students at Metis landing jobs in this last year, 2020, 2021? I feel like I've been talking to, web development boot camps about this pretty regularly, but I'm curious how the data science job outlook is looking to you, and how outcomes are going at Metis.
Yeah, so students are definitely landing jobs. It's really fulfilling as an instructor to watch students become fully employed data scientists, and it just sort of happens left and right after they finish our boot camps. So I'm always congratulating somebody new. So everything's really picking up back to normal since, a bit of a job market disruption when the pandemic began, and Online Flex uses the same content and same teaching methods. So I would project that our students will get jobs at a comparable rate, and we'll definitely be able to share more about that in upcoming months as we have our first Online Flex graduates. One thing we've added since we moved to our online model, and Online Flex bootcamps get this too, is that there's a full week of career support for our bootcamp students before they're sort of sent into the world to job hunt. So careers is with you even when you're job hunting, but you really get a full week with them to work on your resume and all of your materials and do mock interviews. And it's a really great way to get yourself started.
That's great. Okay, well, we'll check back in a few months about outcomes for Flex students. But I think that's a really important distinction to remember. Sometimes when we think about a part-time boot camp or a flexible boot camp, we wonder if it's outcomes oriented, if the purpose and goal is to actually get a job when you graduate. And so great to know that is the goal at Metis, is to get Flex students the same types of jobs that a full-time online live student would get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I know you're an instructor, so you're not in the career support team. But do you have any good, maybe recession-proof job hunting tips for folks who have recently graduated from a data science boot camp, and any advice that you've heard from students or instructors about how to get a data science job after a remote boot camp?
Yeah, so I'll say, first of all, our careers team is just awesome. They are great at giving tons of advice about getting jobs. They're always available for students and alums, and they're really an invaluable resource. They've been doing this for a really long time. So they know all the shifts. They know how it goes. The other main thing I think is to really just keep going. So you need to just sort of take the whole thing in stride, keep moving forward, because if you have the skills, you'll find a job. But the fit between the company need and your background isn't necessarily going to be perfection on the first try. So it's really a game of sticking to it. And relatedly, sort of just putting yourself into the world is so important, whether that means reaching out to recruiters or potential employers, or writing blogs, maintaining your GitHub. It's really scary to put yourself on display, but that's how people are going to see that you have the skills to do the job. And if you've made it through one of our boot camps, you definitely have the skills. So it's really just a matter of time and perseverance until something works out.
That is good advice. Wait till you find the perfect fit, and maybe don't expect to find that perfect fit on the first job that you apply to. That's great. Well, I'll finish up with the number one question that we get right now, and maybe it's perfect for you since you made a career change into data science as well. Why do you think that right now, 2021, is the right time for someone to make a career change into data science?
Mm-hmm. So the amount of data in the world is only increasing. We really need people who know how to manage it. And since our lives have moved online and to remote work, there's even more to track. So there's more data to collect. So COVID has maybe perhaps accelerated and certainly hasn't hindered the need for data scientists. So more and more companies, again, in all industries are really starting to collect data. So there's a lot of growth in the number of positions available. There are all these numerous groups that track employment, and there are all these predictions that there's just going to be a ton of growth in data related roles, both because of the amount of data we have that's increasing and also our means to collect it, and also because more and more companies are interested in collecting data. And then also data science is just such an evolving field that the boundaries are more amorphous. So it's easier for someone who might have not have direct experience, but have a lot of relevant experience to sort of nonetheless jump in. And I can speak a little bit from my personal experience, which is when I was trying to figure out my own career, I was looking for something that matched my interests and skills, which data science did, but I was also looking for a soft spot in the market. So I did a ton of research about industries and jobs I could break into, more easily than maybe some others. And data science kept coming up. And I think that's still the case now. And the sooner you start trying, the sooner your career starts. And then the last thing I'll say on this is that from another perspective, I think we're seeing, what misinformation can do and how easy it is to just not know how to interpret data or research or findings, especially with something like, COVID. Data literacy is just so important. So to some extent, there's a bit of a moral imperative right now for us to really pay attention to data and what it's telling us to help others understand as well.
Yeah, all right. Well, Rita, I think that is a great place to end. So thank you so much for joining us and walking us through the new online flex format at Metis. I think that was very illuminating. I learned a lot, and it was great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here.
And thank you everyone for joining and watching through the end of this video. You can let us know in the comments which bootcamp you'd like to see a virtual classroom tour of next. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Rita.
Thanks.